Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining in. Have a great show planned for you today. Dr. Joe Greathouse, the director of the Ogilvie Zoo, will be on the show later on. He'll have some friends with him. I won't tell you who they are just yet. We'll wait and see. But hard to believe it's actually really summer now. I've said in previous shows that I always kind of think that Memorial Day is the start of summer, but it is officially summer, and as West Virginia Day passed. And, you know, I enjoy this time of year. I enjoy the summer heat and being out in the pool once in a while and watching some baseball games, but you know, summer does seem to fly by, and the kids always get back to school a little earlier than they used to when I was younger, so enjoy it while we can. But I want to start off this week's show with a quote. And this quote comes from former Vice President Joe Biden, who said, "Fighting corruption is not just good governance, it's self-defense, it's patriotism." And there's a lot of truth to that statement, because our whole foundation is based upon government running the right way and trusting in our government. And unfortunately, here in West Virginia, we've had some real challenges in the past week or so. Justice Alan Lawfrey of the West Virginia Supreme Court, first charged by the Judicial Investigation Commission with a number of counts of misconduct, and now also indicted by the federal grand jury. And, you know, faces nearly 400 years in prison, over $5 million in fines, and for some things that are, you know, if the things that are alleged are true, have you scratching your head a little bit about him using state vehicles and state credit cards and state furniture and things of that nature for personal use, but also then maybe not being forthright about those things when questioned about them. But I really don't want to talk about those things. I mean, people are presumed to be innocent until proven guilty, and he deserves that same respect and has those rights. But what I do want to talk about are our judges in West Virginia. I've been practicing law here in West Virginia for nearly 2 decades, and we have some of the best judges in the United States here in West Virginia. You know, whether it be here in the Northern Panhandle, we have tremendous judges in both the first and second judicial circuits across the board. When you look at people like Judge Wilson, Judge Mazzone, Judge Cuomo, Judge Sims, who cover the First Circuit, you look at Judge Hummel and Judge Kramer, who are in the Second Circuit, our federal judges, Judge Bailey, Judge Stamp, who are both very well respected, Magistrate Judge Seibert, who's going to be retiring soon, but is given a tremendous amount of time and service here to the federal courts in this area. Across the board, we just have tremendous judges. And then I go down to the southern part of the state at times. You know, in May I was down in front of Judge Swope in Mercer County, down in Princeton. I'm oftentimes in Charleston for some of the judges there, Huntington. Tremendous judges in Clarksburg and Parkersburg. I can just go on with how good and how dedicated these judges are. And I know they're disappointed too, because they don't want to see the judiciary in West Virginia be seen in a negative light, and it shouldn't be. We have judges who are very well prepared, who are dedicated to seeing to it that justice is done, who really think through the issues and try to give each side a fair shot. As a lawyer, I'm there to represent my client, to advocate for my client's interests. So of course, I always want to win. I always want the judge to rule my way on every motion, on every ruling, etc. But sometimes they don't rule your way on every single objection, on every single thing. And that's okay, as long as you feel like they're listening to you, you're being heard, and they're trying to do the right thing. And that's what our judges in this state do, is that they try to do the right thing, they dedicate their time, they're bright. So I hate to see anything cast a negative light on the judiciary in this state, because I've had such good experiences with the judiciary. And so I want people out there to understand that whatever may come of this investigation, whatever may come of these charges, it's not representative of the judges in the state of West Virginia as a whole. It's not representative of our judiciary system as a whole, which is a very fine system and one that I think we can all be proud of as West Virginians. So we'll see how this all plays out. We'll keep an eye on it. We're going to need to take a break. When we come back, I'll have with me Dr. Joe Greathouse, director of the Ogilvie Zoo, and maybe some of his special guests. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show.
When reviewing your oil and gas offers or royalty check statements, do you wonder, am I being offered a fair amount? Do I feel comfortable reading the statement? Do I have peace of mind? If you answered no to these questions, you need Bordas Mineral Management. Our passion is helping mineral owners protect and expand their mineral wealth. Our examiners tell you whether you're being treated fairly and getting paid what is rightfully yours. Bordas Mineral Management. Be protected. Have peace of mind.
recommended by the highest authorities. Danoon Lumber.
It's like a bad one's coming. Yeah. Right?
Welcome back to the show. This is my favorite time each week when I have a guest with me, and this week's no different. My guest this week is Dr. Joe Greathouse, director of the Oglebay Zoo. I had Dr. Joe Greathouse on last April, and brought some friends with him from the zoo, and I had a great time and thought, let's have him back. And didn't know if he was going to bring some more animals with him, but he decided to do that. So, Doctor, thanks for being here.
Thanks
Appreciate it.
me.
So, lot going on at the zoo. Seems like there's always a lot going on, and I had a chance to get up there in May with a few of my kids and some new animals this summer, just like it seems like there are every summer.
Yes, we've been trying to really add some new exciting animals that also have kind of a conservation twist to meet our mission at the zoo, and this year's no different. We expanded our red panda habitat into the main building of the zoo, and we have one of the biggest red panda habitats in the United States now. So we have an indoor section because when it gets over 85 degrees outside, they can have heat strokes. It's too hot for them. And in the past, the guests weren't able to see them during the summer. So now you can enjoy them during the summer, but then they also have a ramp to where they can go outside as well and be outside throughout the year. And what we're focusing on is trying to give the animals more space and complexity into their enclosures to really enhance their welfare and give them choices over their environment.
I would have never guessed that about the heat stroke. Where do you find red pandas out in the world?
From the Himalayan mountains and bamboo forests. So when it gets really hot, like in that 80 to 85 range, it's just a little bit too warm for them, and they're much more comfortable in the air conditioning. So we're able to display those guys year round where they want to be and where they're happiest. And then we added in snow leopards this year. So this is the first time we've ever had snow leopards in Wheeling. It makes sense because they're a mountain species, and being in West Virginia, it's a good mountain habitat. Incredibly endangered species in the wild due to hunting for their coats. We've put them down by where the red pandas used to be. So they have a really large habitat, nice elevated structures to where they can climb and watch the guests.
That's down by the barn, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. We've added that. We're in the process of building a mountain goat exhibit beside that. We added a new African spurred tortoise habitat in the zoo, and then we've also moved emus in right next to the kangaroos and wallabies. So the goal has kind of been to fill in empty spaces for our guests to see more as they walk around the zoo. We've really increased the number of habitats by about 50%, so it's a really exciting change for our guests.
One of the things that I've noticed in recent years is that there's a lot more interaction with the animals. You know, see kids that are getting to feed some of the animals or pet them and things like that. Before it was kind of you could walk through the zoo and maybe pet the goats or something like that, but that was about it. And now it seems like there's a lot more interaction.
There is, and for us, we want to essentially touch the heart to teach the mind. We want to make sure that kids are learning about animals, and you learn best in those situations where you interact. And studies have shown that if we can get children excited about wildlife before they reach 12 years old, they're much more likely to become wildlife professionals or support wildlife conservation in the future. So we have the goat interaction area, lorikeet interaction area, the kangaroos and wallabies, you can walk through with them. And then we've started encounter programming with our red pandas, our two-toed sloth, kangaroos, wallabies, otters, and these are special programs that guests can come in and do. And we've seen guests flying in from Germany, from Canada, all over the United States to participate in our programs.
Wow. I noticed, was it the ringtail lemurs too that people kind of interact with sometimes and feed?
They do, and each day at 3 p.m. we have a special door on our ring-tailed lemur habitat that we open up, and the kids can come over and watch us train them, learn about them, and then we usually pick one child out of the group and let them help us train and feed the lemurs. So it's an experience that you're not going to get anywhere else.
When you were here last year, you were just getting a special new alligator in, and it was, I think, going to be that week. And how's that gone?
Great. The albino alligator is incredibly popular. Sunday afternoons when we feed and Wednesday afternoons when we feed, that's when guests really show up because they like to watch the alligator eat. And to be honest with you, the most liked aspect of that exhibit is probably the kayak that the kids can play in and the model alligators. They spend most of their time enjoying those play experiences. So what we've discussed is as we develop the zoo further, we'll try to incorporate play at every exhibit. That way the kids have something that they enjoy, and it also makes it worth it. If you're driving down here from Pittsburgh, it makes it worth your hour and 10-minute drive each way if you're going to be at the zoo for about 3 to 4 hours now.
I noticed when I was walking through, ran into a couple of high school kids that I know, and they said, oh, I've volunteered here for 3 years, 4 years, whatever it may be. You know, how many employees you get? How many volunteers? What's ever the total makeup?
Total makeup of the facility, we've right around 50 team members. With the 50 paid team members. With the volunteers, we're right around 100 teen volunteers that participate, probably like 10 to 20 adult volunteers, but we also have local businesses that come in and help us a lot, like our new African spurred tortoise habitat. Karen Bowers came in and helped us build that habitat for them. The guys from West Banco came and helped us do some of the landscaping for the snow leopard exhibit, so we have a lot of great community support for those types of projects as well. And then we also have our apprentices who are either interns in college or have just graduated from college. And with our partnership with the West Liberty University Zoo Science major, we have around 50 students that are participating in that right now. And after this coming year, we'll pick up probably another 60.
Oh, that's great. I want to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but you brought a friend with you here. Let's take a look.
So this is an eastern hellbender salamander. These are the largest salamanders in the United States, and they live in the streams and rivers around here. So it's a little slimy, and its nickname is a snot otter because it produces this copious amount of slime on its skin to protect it through the water.
I'm not touching him.
But it also tastes kind of yucky if you bite it, and when I'm done handling him, the mucus is almost, the mucus is almost like you have boogers all over your hands. That's why they call them a snot otter, but they're endangered in every state that they live in. We used to have them in 40-something streams in West Virginia. Now we only have them in 13 streams and rivers. So what we do at the zoo, we're the first zoo in the world that hatched these from eggs. We've reintroduced close to 500 hellbenders back to streams and rivers in West Virginia to try to bolster their populations. We work with different partners to build special nest boxes for them, and we put those back in the stream to increase habitats.
Any here in the Ohio Valley?
In Buffalo Creek, Wheeling Creek, Middle Island Creek, and then we do a lot of work down in the mountains as well.
Wow. Well, I'll let you put them away. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll maybe have another friend with us here and talk a little bit more about what's going on at the zoo and maybe even what's happening here in the immediate near future at the zoo. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show.
At Ultra Big Bank, we need to be assured you can make your payments. Yes. Well, buy them out. Acquire. Acquire! As I was saying, I'm not sure I see the value in your small account.
That's when we went to Belmont Savings. They took the time to understand our needs.
And they didn't make us feel small. Where the big banks are only interested in growing, Belmont Savings' interest was in us.
Belmont Savings Bank, focused on your future.
So, how was your first day?
Long. So, Josh asked me about you.
Daddy's home. Go get him.
For your home, for your life, for more than 50 years. The Hardwood Specialists. Denoon Lumber.
Welcome back to the show. Been speaking with my guest this week, Dr. Joe Greathouse, the director of the Ogilvie Zoo, and got to see a salamander. Now I'm really excited about this because during the commercial break, he was able to get his new friend out here, and this is a barred owl named Choctaw.
Choctaw, the barred owl, and he's one of our ambassador animals at the zoo. So folks that are coming up for Zoo Brew on Saturday night, when they're walking around and enjoying their beer and their food from the local restaurants, Choctaw is one of the individuals that they'll get to meet. And he came to us as an injured animal as part of our rehabilitation program at the zoo.
How often does that happen where you get an injured animal for rehabilitation?
We typically see 50 to 70 injured raptors per year. So birds of prey, so hawks, owls, eagles, and it's really probably the biggest part of our veterinary budget is taking care of these local wild raptors that get injured and trying to get them back to the wild again.
You even get some eagles, huh?
We do. We had a bald eagle that got stuck in one of the locks in New Cumberland last week. The wildlife officers contacted us and our curator went out and met him, and our veterinarians and our curator, they worked and rehabilitated it to where it was strong and healthy again and reintroduced it back to the wild. So it's a pretty cool role that we play in local conservation.
Tell me about this barred owl. I mean, is this something that we see here in West Virginia?
It is. Barred owls are fairly common in older forested areas, so areas where we've had trees for a while, the trees have been able to die, and then there's a cavity that forms inside of them. The barred owl will nest inside of there. So we see these guys up and down through the panhandle as well as in the more mountainous regions of the state.
How long do they live?
Right around 12 to 13 years in human care. In the wild, it's probably going to be closer to 5 or 6.
Do you all breed these animals at all, or strictly just have them there?
The individuals that are rehabilitation species, they're just there for rehab or to become ambassador animals if they're not capable of being released into the wild again. The breeding programs that we do are primarily endangered species like cheetahs and snow leopards, kangaroos, wallabies aren't really endangered, but we participate in managed breeding programs to make sure that we have animals in human care that we can take care of and support wildlife conservation for extended periods of time.
You mentioned a little while ago Zoo Brew being this Saturday night, and it's an event that's kind of it's become a tradition. It really took off, and people really look forward to it.
It is, and it's our 9th annual Zoo Brew. It's pretty special. It's a unique event where you get to enjoy the zoo in an adult type of setting. We have 2 great bands that are going to be there, food vendors from all over the region, right around I think 8 food vendors right now, beer distributors from across the state. We have Mountain State Brewing, Big Timber, Morgantown, Wheeling Brewing, Parkersburg Brewing Company. So it's typically a great time, and it's one of our big fundraisers that supports animal care and conservation at the zoo.
Can people walk up and get tickets, or do you have to give them in advance?
You can buy them in advance online, but you can also show up that day and purchase up to an hour before the event.
Okay. And what time does that start on Saturday night?
The VIP hour starts at 6 p.m. So VIPs get to come in and get their first chances at the restaurant offerings, but you also, with your VIP ticket, get unlimited drinks during the first hour. From 7 to 10, it's the rest of the event, and each guest will get 8 4-ounce samplings of different craft beers from primarily throughout the region, but we also have some national crafts as well.
You mentioned also earlier the partnership with West Liberty and how many additional students they're going to be coming in, and that's a relatively new partnership between the Ogilvie Zoo, West Liberty University, and there's even some new exciting things going on with that, I understand.
There are. We've started the zoo science major 2 years ago. This will be our 3rd cohort of students coming through, and we're going to be close to around 100 students in that major. So that's a big deal for us at West Liberty, and great partnership for us at the zoo, where we're one of 4 facilities in the U.S., the only AZA accredited zoo in the U.S. partnered with the university, where we're teaching the next generation of conservation and animal care professionals. And this fall we'll start the first master's degree in zoo science throughout the United States, and it's going to be offered online. So zookeepers from around the country, if you're at the San Diego Zoo, one of the zoos in the Midwest, Bronx Zoo, you'll be able to take classes and get your master's degree from West Liberty University in biology.
That's pretty great that that's happening right here in this area, and people all over the country, perhaps in the world, will be participating in that.
It is, and it's kind of a tradition we have at Ogilvie with professional development. We're actually, in February, we host zoo professionals from all over the United States as the host site for many of the schools for the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. So it's interesting that all the zoos around the country typically have multiple individuals that have come to Wheeling and trained at Ogilvie.
Even though it's only June, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about Boo at the Zoo. I mean, it's something that so many people here in the Valley have gone through. For me, I did it as a kid, and now I take my own kids there, so it's kind of come full circle for me. But the one thing I've noticed is that people from the community have really gotten involved in the last couple of years with the stations, the candy stations and stuff, and doing different things with them.
They have. It's been the amount of community support that we get for a small zoo is amazing, and that's really important because we're the 4th smallest city in the country that has an AZA accredited institution, and we're one of only about 12 that are fully self-sustaining and don't receive any tax levy money to operate the zoo. So when we have folks like the team from WISC and the team from Straub, Wheeling Hospital folks coming in and helping us decorate exhibits, the Wheelhouse team coming in and operating our lorikeet aviary, Halloween treat station. It's pretty incredible, and that's by far our biggest fundraiser for the zoo each year.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show and for bringing the salamander, for bringing the barred owl, Choctaw here, and you know, I really hope that people take advantage of the rest of the summer to get up there and see, because I was amazed. I really was. When I came through in May, I was like, you know, this isn't even like the zoo that I'm used to. It's really got a fresh feel to it and a lot to see and do. So congratulations to you and your team for doing so well and making it a new thing for people here in the Valley.
Thank you very much. And like I said, the zoo has been very fortunate to receive so much community support to really help us grow.
Well, thanks for being here. We need to take a break. When I come back, we'll be talking sports. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show. People in nursing homes are some of the most vulnerable members of our society. They're there because they can't take care of themselves. Those facilities have a duty to take care of our loved ones, and when they don't, it's important they're held accountable. We've not only collected record results against negligent nursing homes, but more importantly, we've helped so many families get the answers and closure they so badly needed.
Bordas and Bordas, fighting for justice.
We're Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, and we're gonna save you. We've got it down to a science, an absolute state of art. We do it all. Restoration, cleaning, and reconstruction. When disaster strikes, just pick up the phone. We're Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, and we're gonna save you.
Welcome back to the show. It's time to talk sports. I'm going to start off talking about the NBA Finals and what this summer may bring for the NBA. Of course, you know, the Golden State Warriors defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers, swept them, and that was the matchup 4 years in a row now. Golden State and Cleveland. Maybe people are starting to get a little bit bored of that. I mean, LeBron James has been in the finals 8 years in a row between his stints with Cleveland and also with Miami. And the big question this summer is, where will LeBron James go? And, you know, people may look and say, well, you know, they can make more money here, do this here. This team's got set up for a championship. I think it may come down to, you know, his family a little bit. I mean, he's got young kids and where they want to go. But LeBron says he's going to keep playing for a number of years. In fact, he said that he wants to be able to either play with or against his son in the NBA, who's now in junior high. And of course, maybe a little bit of pressure on that young man since he's only in junior high. LeBron's talking about him being in the NBA, but he is supposed to be quite a talent. I've seen a little bit of video on him, and he's a pretty darn good player. But that's going to be the big question for the NBA is, where does LeBron James end up? You know, from a playing perspective, it makes more sense probably for him to stay in the East somewhere because there's an easier path to get to the finals again. I mean, that's one of the reasons he's gotten there 8 years in a row. But you know, in terms of where the talent is, you know, if he could get down to Houston and team up with Chris Paul, James Harden, you know, then you can really have some talent that can make a run at the Warriors, which Houston may have been able to do anyway had Chris Paul not gotten hurt and missed the last couple games of that series. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. Of course, the draft happening this week, and then also free agency will be underway. So a lot to see there. And speaking of basketball, former William Jesuit University coach Danny Sancombe has landed a new job at California University of Pennsylvania, and glad to see him get another job so quickly. He's had a lot of success, obviously, on the court, and is a good guy. Has camps here in the Valley for kids, and the facilities there at Cal U are pretty daggone impressive. It's a Division II school, just like Wheeling Jesuit, just like West Liberty, different conference though. But with those facilities and with Coach Sancombe going there, they'll probably make some noise here in the next few years. Don't be surprised if they do, if you hear a lot about California University of Pennsylvania and men's basketball. So congratulations to him on getting that new job. Pittsburgh Pirates, hanging around 500 still. I've been saying all year, these different benchmarks, what you have to look at, and I think the All-Star game is probably the next benchmark, and I think that the Pirates are going to have to get to somewhere around 5 games above 500 to really be able to have a chance at making a run at a playoff spot in the second half of the season. They may just not have the firepower. I mean, it seems like they're a little bit short with the bats, a little bit short with the starting pitching, a little bit short with the relief pitching, maybe even a little more than a little bit short, and so there just may not be enough there, but. If they could get hot, I mean, I think there's talent. There's just some inexperience in some places, but if they can get to 5 games above 500 or so by the All-Star break, I think they still will have a shot to make the playoffs. I said they'd finish first or second in the division before the year started, so I'm gonna have to stick with it until they can prove that they're not going to do it. I want to talk about the U.S. Open golf too. The course was ridiculous. Played up in Shinnecock Hills on Long Island in New York, and the wind was blowing the first day like crazy. The greens were so slick that people couldn't even keep the ball on the green. Phil Mickelson's hitting the ball while it's still rolling and getting a 2-stroke penalty. It's just not the type of golf that I want to see. I want to see these guys go out and hit great shots. And some people enjoy seeing the best golfers in the world struggle and put up scores that are 11 over par like you might do out if you were at the local course. But I want to see the best golfer win, not who can survive the ridiculous conditions or the crazy greens or whatever it may be. So. The next major is the British Open at Carnoustie, and the wind can get crazy over there. I've been to a British Open in '98 in England and Liverpool at Royal Birkdale, and you talk about the wind. I mean, I had to go buy a jacket, a heavy one, because it was so windy and cold, and it can get bad over there at the British. But I'm going to stay with my thoughts that even though Tiger Woods missed the cut at the U.S. Open, that he will win a major this summer. I'm going to stay with it. I think his game is going to come together. The putter's what's been struggling a little bit off the tee as well, but the iron game looks sharp. And when his iron game is sharp, that gives him a chance because he can always scramble and make a score if he can get that putting back on. He's been a great putter throughout his career. I think it's just a little glitch here, and that'll happen. So I think Tiger still wins a major this summer. That's all the time that we really have for this week. In the upcoming weeks, we'll continue to start taking a look at the Steelers and Mountaineers football as the summer moves on. We'll see you again next week on the Jamie Bordas Show.